What comes to mind when you hear the word wealth? Perhaps you picture stacks of cash or sprawling estates, maybe a portfolio filled with stocks and bonds. These are the common images. They represent assets, things that are owned, things that ideally endure and grow over time. This is traditional wealth. It is the kind we often measure and aspire to accumulate throughout our lives. It provides a sense of security, a foundation for the future. It is tangible, something you can often point to and count. But what if there is another kind of wealth, a type that is less about ownership and more about access, less about permanence and more about the present moment? This is situational wealth. It is a fascinating concept. It is the power and resources available to you because of a specific circumstance, a particular role you hold, a unique opportunity that has presented itself. It is not necessarily yours to keep forever. It is wealth tied to the context. It can appear suddenly, and it can vanish just as quickly when the situation changes. Think about it this way. Your personal bank balance might be modest, that is your accumulated wealth. But if you are the lead negotiator for $1 billion deal, you wield immense power. You control information, you influence decisions. This influence, this temporary command over significant resources and outcomes, is situational wealth. It is not measured by what you own, it is measured by what you can do right here, right now, because of your position. It is a powerful, yet often overlooked dimension of influence in our world. So situational wealth stands in contrast to traditional accumulated wealth. Traditional wealth is a store of value. You build it slowly. It is a reflection of past success. Situational wealth is a flow of opportunity. It is about present capacity. It is often granted or tied to a position rather than personally earned and saved. Understanding this distinction is the first step. It helps us see how power and influence operate in ways we might not always recognize. It is the wealth of the moment. Why should we pay close attention to situational wealth? The answer is simple. It grants influence. It acts as a powerful lever. It allows individuals to make significant things happen. This can occur even if they lack a large personal fortune. The power comes from the situation itself, from the resources they temporarily control, or from the access they temporarily possess. It is the ability to direct energy and resources towards a goal. This is a critical aspect of leadership and decision-making in any field. Imagine a community organizer leading a local campaign. They might not be wealthy in the traditional sense, but they have mobilized volunteers, they have secured a temporary space for meetings, they have gained the ear of local media for a short period. This collection of temporary resources, people's time, space, attention, constitutes their situational wealth. It gives them the power to advocate for change, to challenge established norms, to make a tangible difference in their community. Their influence is tied directly to these temporary assets. This temporary access to resources can be incredibly persuasive. When an individual controls something that others need or desire, their voice is amplified. This could be access to crucial information, or the authority to distribute funding, or the ability to greenlight a project. The person who holds these keys, even for a limited time, naturally becomes a focal point. Others will listen more intently. They will be more inclined to cooperate. Their requests and directives carry an unspoken weight, derived from their temporary control. The psychological impact of situational wealth is also profound. For the person wielding it, it can foster a sense of confidence, a feeling of empowerment and agency. They see that their actions can have immediate and significant consequences. For those interacting with them, it can create a dynamic of dependency, or perhaps a sense of expectation or hope. These subtle psychological shifts shape interpersonal dynamics. They influence negotiations, collaborations, and the overall flow of power within any group or organization. In the bustling environment of a corporation, who truly possesses situational wealth? The chief executive officer, of course, often comes to mind first. They might have access to the company jet, they approve substantial expense accounts, they make decisions that can alter the course of the entire organization. These privileges and powers are not typically part of their personal property. They are tools associated with their high-ranking office. They are perks and authorities that significantly amplify their role and influence within the company. Yet, situational wealth is not confined to the executive suite. It permeates many levels of a corporate structure. Consider a department head. They hold the power to hire new team members or to allocate tasks. A marketing manager controls the substantial budget for advertising campaigns. An IT specialist might hold the administrative keys to vital computer systems, controlling access and ensuring operational stability. Each of these individuals, in their specific capacity, wields a form of situational wealth. They make critical decisions daily that impact numerous colleagues and company outcomes. This unique form of corporate wealth is intrinsically linked to a job title or a specific role. If an individual leaves that position, the associated situational wealth often disappears almost immediately. The spacious corner office, the authority over a large budget, the power to make certain binding decisions, these are typically conditional. They are components of the role assigned to the individual, not enduring personal assets. This temporary nature is a defining characteristic of situational wealth within organizational hierarchies. It underscores the importance of the position itself. Effective leaders within the corporate sphere understand this dynamic well. They recognize the fleeting nature of the power granted by their current position. They strive to use this temporary authority wisely, not primarily for personal aggrandizement or comfort, but to drive important initiatives forward, to inspire and motivate their teams towards shared objectives, to successfully negotiate beneficial deals for the company. Their skill lies in leveraging this situational advantage for the greater good of the organization and its stakeholders. Governments at all levels are vast and complex arenas brimming with situational wealth. Think about an elected official such as a mayor or a legislator. For their term in office, they gain control over significant public funds. They play a crucial role in shaping laws and policies that affect everyone. This power is immense. It allows them to direct resources, initiate projects, and influence societal norms. However, this authority is strictly tied to their elected term. It is a potent, but ultimately temporary form of wealth. Consider, for instance, a city planner or a zoning commissioner. These individuals do not personally own the city or the land within it, yet their decisions on zoning regulations, development permits, and land use can fundamentally alter the urban landscape. This is a clear example of situational wealth in action. Their professional judgments and approvals impact businesses, residents, and the long-term character of the community. The consequences of their temporary authority can resonate for generations, shaping where people live, work, and play. Access to specialized or confidential information represents another significant form of situational wealth within government. A diplomat, through their postings and negotiations, becomes privy to sensitive international secrets. A senior policy advisor reviews detailed reports and data that are not available to the general public. This exclusive knowledge is a valuable resource. It grants them considerable influence in high-level discussions, policy formulation, and critical governmental decisions. Their power is derived directly from the privileged information their position affords them. The inherent challenge for those serving in government is to wield this temporary authority ethically and for the genuine public good. The allure of converting situational wealth, access, influence, control over resources into personal gain or entrenched power can be a strong temptation. Therefore, robust ethical frameworks, transparent processes, and diligent oversight mechanisms are absolutely crucial. They help ensure that the official's advantage serves the people, not just the office holder, maintaining public trust and accountability. Section 5. West meets East: cultural lenses on situational resources. How do varied cultural backdrops shape the perception and utilization of situational wealth? In many Western business cultures, particularly in places like the United States, there is often a strong emphasis on individual achievement and rapid results. Situational wealth is frequently seen as a tool, a resource to be seized to secure a quick win. It's a means to demonstrate one's personal capability, drive, and innovative spirit. The narrative often celebrates the individual who can leverage a momentary advantage effectively. An American entrepreneur, for example, might secure a significant round of venture capital funding. This infusion of cash is quintessential situational wealth. They are expected to use it aggressively and decisively to scale their business rapidly, to disrupt an existing market or create an entirely new one. The prevailing focus is often on leveraging the current opportunity for maximum immediate impact. boldness, speed, and a willingness to take calculated risks are frequently lauded and rewarded in such an environment. Displays of power derived from a temporary situation can be more overt and celebrated in these contexts. The startup founder who achieves $1 billion valuation in a short time becomes a cultural icon. The executive who makes a daring, high-stakes decision that pays off is praised for their vision and courage. This aligns with a cultural narrative that often emphasizes individual brilliance, decisive action, and the ability to capitalize on fleeting windows of opportunity before competitors do. Consequently, the underlying emphasis can often be on converting that situational advantage into tangible outcomes. These outcomes might include substantial personal financial success or achieving a dominant market position for their company. There is a palpable sense that the clock is always ticking on any given opportunity. Therefore, speed, agility, and a proactive stance in deploying situational resources are highly valued traits for leaders and innovators in these Western business contexts. The moment must be seized. Section 6. Harmony and Networks: Eastern Perspectives on Fleeting Advantage. In contrast, many Eastern business philosophies approach the concept and use of situational wealth through a different cultural lens. There is often a greater, more pronounced emphasis on long-term relationships, on building and maintaining extensive social and professional networks. Consider the concept of guanxi in Chinese culture, which refers to the importance of personal connections and reciprocal obligations. Or think of wei in Japan, which emphasizes group harmony and consensus. These are deeply ingrained cultural values that shape business conduct. Situational wealth, in such contexts, might be deployed with more subtlety and a longer-term perspective. A temporary resource or advantage could be used primarily to strengthen existing connections within one's network, or it might be employed to fulfill an obligation to an ally, thereby banking goodwill for the future. The immediate visible profit or individual gain from the situation may not be the primary objective. Instead, the focus is often on cultivating social capital, maintaining face or reputation, and ensuring the health of the network. A business leader operating within a predominantly Eastern cultural framework might use a temporary advantage, such as access to a new market or technology, to benefit their partners, or to create a future sense of reciprocity. The resource itself is understood to be transient. However, the relationship it helps to nurture, or the obligation it satisfies, is viewed as a durable, long-term asset. This approach inherently requires patience, a degree of indirectness, and a keen understanding of complex social dynamics. Therefore, the public display of power or advantage derived from situational wealth might be less direct or ostentatious. Greater importance may be placed on achieving consensus and ensuring benefits for the group or the wider network. The success of using situational wealth is not judged solely by individual metrics. It is also assessed by how well it maintains overall harmony, strengthens critical bonds for future collaboration, and contributes to the collective well-being and stability of the interconnected parties. Section 7. The Innovator's Edge: Entrepreneurial Bets on Temporary Capital. Entrepreneurs are individuals who often live and breathe the very essence of situational wealth. A new startup typically begins with very little accumulated capital in the traditional sense. Its most significant initial asset is usually a compelling idea, and perhaps, if they are fortunate, an initial injection of seed funding from investors or grants. This early funding is pure, unadulterated, situational wealth. It is a critical lifeline, a temporary resource that offers a chance to bring their vision to life. They skillfully use this temporary infusion of cash, or they leverage access to an accelerator program that provides mentorship and resources, or they capitalize on a sudden wave of market hype or media attention. The overarching goal is almost always to make a disproportionately massive impact with these limited means. To transform a fleeting chance, a narrow window of opportunity, into a viable, scalable, and sustainable business. This entire endeavor is akin to a high-wire act, demanding balance, courage, and impeccable timing. Risk-taking is absolutely central to this entrepreneurial process. Founders and their early teams are essentially betting that they can effectively utilize their limited temporary resources to achieve what might be called escape velocity. This means building something substantial and lasting, something that can generate its own momentum and revenue, all before the initial well of funding runs dry, or before the particular window of market opportunity slams shut due to competition or changing trends. The pressure is immense. The entire entrepreneurial journey can be viewed as a strategic chain of converting one form of situational wealth into another, more stable one. Initial seed funding is transformed into a minimum viable product. Early adopters and users are leveraged to gain market validation and crucial feedback. Positive press coverage or industry awards are used to attract further investment or key talent. It is a continuous, dynamic process of identifying and capitalizing on a sequence of temporary advantages to build lasting value. Section 8. The established hand institutional plays with fleeting resources. Established institutions, such as large corporations or long-standing non-profits, also frequently utilize situational wealth. However, their approach often differs significantly from that of nimble startups. These organizations typically possess substantial accumulated wealth. They have deeply embedded structures, established processes, and recognized brand names. Consequently, their use of situational wealth can be more measured, more strategic, and often tied to longer-term institutional goals rather than immediate survival or explosive growth. A large, multinational corporation, for example, might decide to allocate a massive budget for a groundbreaking research and development project. This specific budget constitutes situational wealth for the designated project team. It is temporary, earmarked for a particular purpose, and comes with clear objectives and timelines. The aim here is not usually about the fundamental survival of the corporation. Instead, it is focused on fostering innovation, exploring new technological frontiers, or developing future revenue streams to maintain a competitive edge. Middle managers within these large organizations often wield considerable situational wealth in their daily operations. This can take the form of control over a departmental budget, or it might be their influence over a key operational process that affects multiple teams. It could also be the authority to assign critical tasks or to approve certain expenditures. This power is undeniably real and impactful within their sphere of influence, but it is clearly confined to their specific role and responsibilities within the larger institutional framework. For established institutions, situational wealth often serves purposes like maintaining their existing power and market share. Or it might be deployed to navigate an unexpected crisis, such as a supply chain disruption or a public relations challenge. It can also be used to carefully explore new, adjacent markets or to acquire smaller companies with promising technologies. The stakes are different. It is generally less about existential risk, as seen with startups, and more about achieving incremental gains, strategic positioning, or effectively defending their established turf. Section 9. Beyond the moment, ethics, sustainability, and strategic foresight. Situational wealth, as we have seen, is an undeniably potent tool. It possesses the remarkable ability to unlock doors that once seemed firmly shut. It can, metaphorically speaking, move mountains and reshape landscapes. However, its inherently temporary nature demands not just opportunism, but also profound wisdom and careful, deliberate thought. We must consistently strive to look beyond the immediate advantage it offers. We need to consider the broader implications and responsibilities that come with wielding such fleeting power. Ethical considerations are absolutely paramount when dealing with situational wealth. When power is temporary, and particularly when oversight might be limited, the temptation to misuse it can become dangerously strong. This misuse might manifest as pursuing personal gain at the expense of others, or it could involve leveraging the advantage to create an unfair playing field. Leaders at every level must constantly ask themselves critical questions. Is this particular use of my current influence fair? Is it just? Does it serve a greater good beyond my own interests or those of my immediate circle? Long-term sustainability is another crucial dimension to consider. How can a fleeting opportunity, a temporary surge of resources or influence, be thoughtfully converted into lasting value? This value might be for an individual's career, for a company's enduring success, or for the broader benefit of society. Achieving this conversion requires diligent planning. It necessitates thinking proactively about what happens when the specific situation changes. What happens when the temporary wealth inevitably diminishes or disappears entirely? a plan for transition is essential. Strategic foresight, therefore, means developing a keen understanding of the entire life cycle of situational wealth. It involves recognizing the conditions under which it typically arises. It means knowing how to harness it effectively and responsibly once it appears. And, perhaps most importantly, it involves preparing thoroughly for its eventual end. By consciously balancing the use of situational wealth with the steady accumulation of traditional wealth, and by anchoring all actions in core ethical values, we ensure that temporary power serves a truly meaningful and lasting purpose.